Hey y'all, it's Shell. Welcome back. So today I am going to be talking about 10 pros and cons of heat styling your hair. So it is officially silk press season, so I thought I'd get on here and do this video to let y'all know like the pros and cons of heat styling your hair. And by heat styling I mean like silk pressing specifically. So I have 5 pros for you guys and 5 cons to talk about. So I'm gonna start with the pros. The number one pro when you are heat styling and heat training your hair is that you won't have to worry about styling your hair too much. That will be easier. And then also you'll be able to detangle your hair a whole lot easier. So you guys know I'm heat trained. I heat style my hair throughout the year, and if you go from my previous videos to my videos now, you will notice that detangling my hair is literally not even an issue as much as it used to be. My hair used to be extremely hard to comb through. Now I barely even use a comb. So going into my second tip is curl elongation. So like I said, you will start to lose the elasticity in your hair. That does not mean you have heat damage. Just because your curls are loosening up does not mean you have heat damage. So you will see your curls start to loosen up a bit, and that gives you that curl elongation, which makes my wash and goes a lot easier to do. They look better to me because I don't like too much shrinkage, and I know that's an issue with a lot of naturals, is that we don't like our hair to look super short. And to me, my hair holds a lot more moisture, which means my styles hold and look a lot better as well. So the third pro is length retention. So when you start to heat style and heat train your hair, you notice that your hair won't break as much. You won't feel like your hair won't be as dry and brittle, and it won't shed as much, because when you are heat styling your hair, the sebum from our scalp is what can help protect our hair from damage. So when you wear silk press for 2 to 3 weeks, that sebum from your scalp is able to travel down and coat and protect your strands. So you will notice that you will experience less breakage and less brittleness with your hair because it's protecting your hair. So if you don't have like a lot of sebum that's being produced from your scalp, you can use a little oil on your mid shaft to ends, and that will protect your hair as well. Another thing is that you won't be manipulating your hair. So within those 2 to 3 weeks that your silk press is in your hair, you will notice that you won't have to manipulate your hair a lot. You know, over manipulating the hair causes breakage. So whenever we are doing natural hairstyles, we tend to manipulate our hair a little bit more. But when you are wearing a silk press, as long as your hair is prepped right for the silk press, and your silk presses typically last, then you're not manipulating your hair for those 2 to 3 weeks that silk press is in, because all you're doing is wrapping your hair at night and you're letting it down in the morning. So number 4, your silk presses will last a lot longer when you are heat training your hair. It will reduce the frizz. So if you have any issues with like your silk presses not lasting, being heat trained and silk pressing your hair a few times throughout the year will reduce the frizz and help them last a lot longer. Also, you will reduce fairy knots. So fairy knots are pretty much split ends and just broken hair at the ends of our hair that intertwine with one another. They also can sometimes just be our natural hair intertwining with one another. But a lot of the times it's because we are not stretching our hair out enough. So if you're the type of person who likes to wear your curly hair, just mix in a few silk presses a year and blow dry your hair a few times a year as well. That way you are stretching your hair out so that you are not creating split ends. And then also getting trims when you are stretching out your hair as far as blow dries and silk presses. Make sure you go in for professional trims. If you want to do a little something at home, go ahead. Make sure you are using the correct shears though, because if you're using the wrong shears, you are going to create more split ends and more fairy knots. So number 5 is like a 2-in-1. So you don't have to use chemicals when you are getting a silk press, and it's going to be a less expensive style than having to go to get a wig install or, you know, braids every month or every month and a half. It's going to be cheaper to get a silk press. Also, like I said, no chemicals, so you don't have to get a relaxer when you are heat trained, because it pretty much does what a relaxer would do except for you're not using chemicals on your hair. Okay, so now we're going to go into the cons of heat training and heat styling your hair. So the first one is that you can break down the cuticle layer of your hair. So you want to make sure you are using the right products, the right tools, the right temperatures, and the right techniques. So you don't want to break down that cuticle layer, because that is when you start to expose the middle layer, which is the cortex of the hair. That is where our protein structure and our elasticity lives, within the hair. So once you break down your cuticle layer and you expose that cortex, that's when you'll start to get heat damage, and that's when you will start to not be able to recover from it, and then you will just have to let your hair grow out. So, but once you see straight pieces in your hair, that is when you know you have that heat damage. That is when you will have to transition out of that if you want to. Some people don't mind it. I'm one of those people. I don't have any straight pieces right now. That's why I call myself heat trained, because I don't have any straight pieces, even though I use heat a lot. And my curls are looser than what they used to be. But if I stop using heat, my curls will fully come back. Okay, so number 2, I recommend do not do a bunch of styles when you are heat training and heat styling your hair. So that may be a con for a lot of people. So a lot of women that get silk presses that come to me specifically, they will get like a wig install. So they'll have a different stylist braid down their hair, get a wig install. They might do their own V-part wig, so they'll do their own braid down for that. They'll get braids. To me, that's way too much manipulation. So your hair strands are already more fragile than what they would be if you didn't use heat. So you have to keep in mind that all that manipulation and different people in your head can cause your hair to break. So number 3, another con might be is that you may not be able to do as many silk presses as someone else. So a lot of you guys ask me what my routine is, and honestly, my routine changes often depending on what my hair needs and what my hair is telling me. So I could probably do 20 something silk presses within a year, and my hair and my curl pattern will be fine. You may only be able to do 2 silk presses a year, and your hair might react better to just 2 silk presses a year. So to some people, that's a con, because it's like you want to do more, you want to become a straight natural, but you want to have fully healthy hair. That's not realistic for everybody. So just keep that in mind when you are heat training and heat styling your hair. Know how many silk presses you can do within a year. And that'll bring me into my next con. So not everybody can switch between silk pressing and their natural curl. And that depends on your cuticle layer and your porosity. So me, myself, like I can do so many silk presses because I know that I have a thicker cuticle layer. So we have a cuticle layer. So this is how our hair strand is made up. We have a cuticle, a cortex, and a medulla. Well, not everyone has a medulla, but we won't worry about that. But the cortex is the middle layer of our hair, and the cuticle layer is, its purpose is to protect the cortex. So the cortex is where our elasticity and our protein structure lives. So once you damage your cuticle layer, or if you just naturally have high porosity hair, that means your cortex layer is more exposed. So that means that if your cortex layer is more exposed, then you have a higher chance of receiving heat damage or just overall damaged hair when you are heat styling and heat training. So if you know you have high porosity hair or a thinner cuticle layer, I would say definitely do not do as many silk presses throughout the year, especially if you are trying to maintain healthy hair. Okay, so number 5, this may ruffle a few feathers, but I would say if you are planning on heat styling, heat training your hair, do not do a lot of DIYs. Do not listen to too many people on YouTube or TikTok on these concoctions that people are making up, because you are going to damage your hair. And that is why a lot of people hair do not last, and it frizzes up right as soon as they get a silk press and they leave the salon. Is because you are damaging the cuticle layer of your hair, and you don't notice it because it's not something that you can see with the naked eye. You have to look under a microscope in order to see some of this damage. And this may be a con for a lot of naturals, because I know that sometimes we like to, look at stuff on the internet and try it to see if it'll grow our hair, but a lot of times it do more damage than good. But if you are making up all these DIYs and these concoctions, you could be damaging your hair, and then once you go get a silk press, you would you immediately see heat damage, and your hair will frizz and poof up right away, which will discourage you from heat styling and heat training. So don't do a lot of DIYs and don't do a lot of manipulation. Listen to just one or two people on the internet that have shown you proven results. If you are struggling with your silk presses, or if you don't know how to do one the right, proper way, the healthy way, then I have a training link below in the description box, so make sure you check that out. Thank y'all for watching, and I'll see y'all in my next one for heat styling, heat training, silk press season.